At his wedding, my son screamed, "Get out! She does not want you here!" I walked out silently, tears streaming. The next day, "Mom, give me the vineyard estate keys. We are honeymooning there." I gave him the keys with a smile. When they turned on the TV in the master bedroom, there was a nice video of his bride playing on every channel. If you are watching this, subscribe and let me know where you are watching from. I am Evelyn Carter, 68 years old, and apparently the most unwelcome mother-in-law in Rhode Island. But let me backtrack to how I got my perfect revenge on the woman who stole my son and the son who betrayed me. The wedding was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. I had spent 4 months helping plan every detail from the flowers to the catering menu. I had even bought a beautiful navy dress that complemented Olivia's color scheme. Everything was perfect until the moment I walked into the reception hall. "What is she doing here?" Olivia's voice cut through the chatter like a knife. She stood there in her $6,000 dress, pointing at me like I was some unwanted party crasher. My son Daniel, the boy I had raised alone after his father Edward died, just stood there frozen. "I invited her," Daniel said weakly. "She is my mother." "Your mother?" Olivia's laugh was sharp and cold. "The woman who tried to sabotage our engagement. The woman who called me a gold digger at the rehearsal dinner. I never called her that, though I certainly thought it. What I actually said was that I hoped they had discussed their financial expectations for marriage. Apparently, that counted as sabotage in Olivia's world." "Get out!" Daniel suddenly exploded, his face red with champagne and anger. "She does not want you here, and honestly, neither do I. This is supposed to be our day, not another one of your guilt trips." The entire reception hall went silent. 180 guests stared at me as tears rolled down my cheeks. My own son, the boy I had worked 4 jobs to put through college, was throwing me out of his wedding like yesterday's garbage. I did not argue. I did not make a scene. I simply picked up my purse, walked to the door, and left. But as I sat in my car in the parking lot, watching through the windows as the party continued without me, something hard and cold settled in my chest. If they wanted to treat me like the enemy, maybe it was time I started acting like one. The next morning, Daniel called. His voice was different now. Sweet and apologetic the way it got when he wanted something. "Mom, I am sorry about last night. Olivia was just stressed, and I overreacted. You know how weddings are." "Of course, sweetheart," I said, though my heart was still broken. "These things happen. Actually, we have a favor to ask. Could we borrow the keys to the vineyard estate? We want to honeymoon there, instead of going to Greece." The travel costs got a bit higher than expected. The estate, my late husband's family property worth about $4.5 million, which Daniel thought he would inherit someday. The same property where I had spent my happiest years before Edward died. The same property where I had installed a very sophisticated security system 8 months ago. "Of course, darling," I said, sweetness dripping from my voice. "I will have the keys ready for you this afternoon." When Daniel arrived with Olivia to pick up the keys, I could not help but notice how she avoided eye contact with me. Good, I thought. She should feel ashamed of herself. "Thank you so much, Mrs. Carter," she said in that fake, sweet voice she used when she wanted something. "This means the world to us." "Oh, call me Evelyn," I said, handing over the keys with a bright smile. "After all, we are family now." They drove off in Daniel's Mercedes, laughing and planning their romantic getaway. I watched them go, then went inside to check my laptop. The security system I had installed was not just for burglary protection. It included cameras in every room, and the ability to override the entertainment system remotely. I opened the control panel and started uploading a very special video to the estate's media server, a video I had been saving for exactly the right moment. A video that was about to turn their honeymoon into a nightmare they would never forget. Because 4 months ago, I had learned the truth about my sweet daughter-in-law. And now, it was time she learned what happens when you mess with Evelyn Carter. Let me tell you how I discovered what kind of woman my son really married. It started with a phone call that changed everything. "Mrs. Carter, this is Detective Thomas Green with the Providence Police Department. We are investigating a fraud case, and your son's fiancé's name came up. Could we speak with you?" My blood ran cold. This was 3 weeks before the wedding, and I was in the middle of addressing invitation envelopes when the call came. What kind of fraud, I managed to ask. Credit card fraud, identity theft, some other charges. We believe she may have used false information to obtain credit under her previous name. The name Olivia Brooks is relatively new. Olivia Brooks. Her name was not even real. I sat down hard in my kitchen chair, my mind racing. Who had my son agreed to marry? What was her previous name? I asked. Maria Delgado. She had been Maria Delgado for the past 8 years until she legally changed her name 16 months ago, right around the time she met your son, actually. 16 months ago. Exactly when she had shown up at the Seaside Country Club where Daniel played tennis, claiming to be new in town and looking for tennis lessons. What a convenient coincidence. Detective Green, what exactly are you investigating? She ran up about $90,000 in credit card debt under her previous identity, then disappeared. Changed her name, changed her entire identity. Her victims were mostly older men she met through dating apps. She would gain their trust, get access to their financial information, then max out credit cards before vanishing. I felt sick. My son, my trusting, naive son, was about to marry a con artist. Have you spoken to my son about this? I asked. We tried, ma'am. He refused to listen. He said we were wrong about her, that she had told him about her name change already. Said it was because of an abusive ex-husband. Of course, she would have a sob story ready. That was probably how she had hooked Daniel in the first place. My son always was a sucker for a damsel in distress. What can I do to help? I asked. Honestly, not much legally. She has not technically committed any crimes as Olivia Brooks, but we thought the family should know what they are dealing with. After the detective hung up, I sat staring at the wedding invitations scattered across my table. 180 people were about to watch my son marry a criminal. But how could I stop it? Daniel was completely under her spell, and as he had made clear repeatedly, he thought I was just a jealous mother trying to interfere. That was when I decided to do some investigating of my own. If the police could not prove anything, maybe I could find evidence they had missed. I hired a private investigator, a woman named Paula Rivera, who specialized in background checks. Within a week, she had uncovered more than the police had. Your future daughter-in-law is quite interesting, Paula said, spreading photos and documents across my coffee table. Maria Delgado was married twice before, both times, to wealthy older men. Both marriages ended in divorce, with her getting substantial settlements. I studied the photographs. There was Olivia, but younger, with different hair, laughing at charity galas, with men old enough to be her grandfather. This one, Paula pointed to a photo of Olivia with a silver-haired man in a tuxedo, was Arthur Reynolds, a real estate developer in South Carolina. They were married for 20 months. He died of a heart attack 5 months after their divorce was finalized. That is suspicious. It gets better, Paula said. The autopsy showed elevated levels of digitalis in his system. Not enough to be lethal, but enough to cause the kind of heart stress that might trigger an attack in someone with pre-existing conditions. My hands started shaking. Are you saying she murdered him? I'm saying the timing was very convenient. She got a $2.6 million settlement from the divorce, then inherited another $900,000 when he died. No charges were ever filed, but the family was suspicious enough to request the autopsy. Paula pulled out another file. Then there is husband number 2. Brian Collins, a tech executive in Washington State. Same pattern, whirlwind romance, quick marriage, mysterious health problems, expensive divorce, then a convenient accident. What kind of accident? He fell down the stairs in his home, broke his neck. Again, no charges were filed, but the insurance company fought the payout for 3 years. I felt like I was going to be sick. This woman, this predator, had somehow gotten her claws into my son. And there was more. The really interesting part, Paula continued, is what happened in between marriages. She would take breaks, completely disappear for 8 months to a year, then resurface with a new identity, new story, new hunting ground, and now she is hunting your son, it appears. So, the question is, what are you going to do about it? I thought about that for a long time. I could show Daniel the evidence, but he had already made it clear he would not listen. I could go to the police again, but they had already said there was not enough for charges. Or I could wait and watch and hope she revealed herself before it was too late. That was when Paula showed me the final piece of the puzzle. "There is one more thing you should see," she said, pulling out her laptop. I managed to retrieve data from her old iCloud backup shed, forgotten to revoke access from a shared device. She is not as tech-savvy as she thinks. The video started playing and my jaw dropped. There was Olivia or Maria or whatever her real name was. She was not alone, and she definitely was not the innocent victim she pretended to be. "When was this filmed?" I asked. "Based on the metadata, about 6 months ago. Right around the time she got engaged to your son." I stared at the screen, watching my future daughter-in-law in a very compromising position with a man who definitely was not Daniel. The audio was crystal clear, including the part where she laughed about her naive fiancé and how easy it would be to clean him out. "Can you make me a copy of this?" I asked. Paula nodded. "What are you planning to do?" I smiled for the first time in weeks. "I am going to save my son, even if he hates me for it." The next 3 weeks before the wedding were the longest of my life. Every day I watched Daniel get more excited about his future with Olivia, and every day I knew more about what she really was. I tried one more time to talk to him, 3 days before the ceremony. "Daniel, sweetheart, are you absolutely sure about this marriage? Have you and Olivia discussed your long-term financial goals?" He rolled his eyes. "Mom, not this again." "Yes, we have talked about money." "Yes, I know you think she is after the family money, but you are wrong about her. What exactly has she told you about her past? She was married before to an abusive man. She had to change her name to escape him. She has been hurt before, which is why she is cautious about trust. But she loves me, Mom. Really loves me." The lies came so easily to her, and he believed every word. "And you have met her family," I said carefully. "She does not have family. Her parents died in a car accident when she was young. She was raised by an aunt who is now in a nursing home with dementia. It is actually really sad." Another lie. According to Paula's investigation, Olivia's parents were alive and well and living in Albuquerque. They had tried to warn her previous husbands about their daughter's history, but by then, it was always too late. "Daniel, what if I told you I had proof that she is not who she says she is?" His face hardened. "I would say you need to stop trying to destroy my happiness. I know you are lonely since Dad died, but that does not give you the right to sabotage my marriage." That hurt more than anything Olivia had done to me. My own son thought I was so pathetic, so desperate for attention, that I would lie to keep him single. I would never lie to you about something this important. "Really? Then where is this proof?" I hesitated. Showing him the video would destroy him, and there was no guarantee he would believe it was not somehow faked. Olivia had done an excellent job of painting me as an unstable, jealous mother. Anything I showed him would be dismissed as another attempt to break them up. "I thought so," he said when I did not answer. "Mom, I love you, but you need to accept that I am getting married. Olivia is going to be your daughter-in-law, and if you cannot be civil to her, then maybe you should not come to the wedding." That was the moment I knew there was no saving him before the marriage. He would have to learn the truth the hard way. But that did not mean I could not be prepared for when reality hit. The wedding planning continued around me like a nightmare. Olivia made a big show of asking for my opinion on flowers and music, but it was clear she was just humoring me. Daniel had obviously told her about our conversation, because she started being extra sweet, as if she were proving how wrong I was about her. "Evelyn, you have such good taste," she would coo, showing me fabric samples. Daniel is so lucky to have such a devoted mother. But I caught the look in her eyes when she thought I was not watching cold calculation, like she was measuring me for a coffin. 2 days before the wedding, she made her biggest mistake yet. She asked to meet me for lunch, just the two of us. "I know this transition is hard for you," she said over salads at the Seaside Country Club. "Daniel means everything to you, and now you have to share him." "That is what mothers do," I replied carefully. "We want our children to be happy." "Of course, and I want you to know that I would never try to come between you and Daniel. Family is so important." She said this while wearing a bracelet that cost more than most people's cars paid for with my son's credit card. "That is good to hear," I said. Although she continued, her voice getting softer, more conspiratorial. "I hope you understand that, as Daniel's wife, I will need to be his primary confidant, especially about financial matters. It would not be appropriate for him to discuss our private business with anyone else, even family." There it was, the opening move to cut me out of Daniel's life completely. I would not expect him to share personal information, I said evenly. "Wonderful," she replied, "because I would hate for there to be any confusion about boundaries. Daniel needs to feel like he can be completely honest with me without worrying about judgment from others." She was already planning to isolate him to make sure no one could warn him when she started draining his accounts. "Olivia, can I ask you something?" "Of course. Do you love my son?" Her smile never wavered, but something flickered in her eyes. What a strange question. Of course I love him. Why would you ask that? Because loving someone means wanting what is best for them, even when it is not what is best for you. And I wonder if you have ever loved anyone that way. Now the mask slipped just for a second. I saw the real Olivia, cold, calculating, completely without empathy. "I think," she said slowly, "that you do not know me as well as you think you do." "You are absolutely right," I replied. "I do not know Maria Delgado at all." The effect was electric. Her face went completely white, then flushed crimson. For a moment, I thought she might actually lose control. "I do not know what you are talking about." "Of course you do not," I said calmly, "just like you do not know Arthur Reynolds or Brian Collins." She stood up so quickly her chair fell over. "This lunch is over. Sit down." Olivia or Maria, whichever name you prefer, sat down, but her hands were shaking now. "Here is what is going to happen," I continued calmly. "You are going to marry my son, because stopping you now would hurt him more than letting you go through with it. But I want you to know that I know exactly what you are. And the second you hurt him, I will destroy you. You cannot prove anything." "Can I not?" I pulled out my phone and showed her a screenshot from the video Paula had found. Not the worst part, just enough to let her know what I had. The color drained from her face completely. "That is impossible. I deleted everything. Technology is amazing these days, is it not?" "Delete does not always mean gone forever." She stared at the phone, then at me. "What do you want?" "I want you to be a good wife to my son. I want you to love him and take care of him and never give me a reason to share what I know about your past." And if I do not, I smiled and put my phone away. Then you will find out what happens when you underestimate a mother protecting her child. She left without another word, and I sat there, finishing my salad, feeling better than I had in weeks. At least now she knew I was not the helpless old woman she had thought I was. But I should have known that threatening a predator would only make her more dangerous. The honeymoon was supposed to last a week. They came back after 3 days, and Daniel looked like he had seen a ghost. They showed up at my house on Tuesday morning. Olivia's face was red and puffy from crying. Daniel was pale and shaking. I opened the door with my warmest smile. "Hello, darlings. You are back early. How was the vineyard estate?" "You know damn well how it was," Daniel said, pushing past me into the living room. Olivia would not even look at me. She stood in my foyer like she was afraid to come any closer, which was probably smart of her. "I am afraid I do not understand," I said innocently. "Did something happen? The video." "Mom." The video that somehow got uploaded to every television in the house. The video that started playing the moment we turned on any screen. I gasped dramatically. "Oh my goodness, was there a virus in the system? How terrible!" "Cut the act!" Daniel snapped. "You did this. Somehow you did this." "Daniel, honey, I do not know anything about uploading videos. You know I can barely work my email," I said, feigning confusion. But I had practiced that speech. Paula had taught me exactly what to do with the Vineyard Estate's smart home system. It was remarkably easy once you knew what you were doing. "It was her." Olivia finally spoke, her voice trembling. "She threatened me at lunch. She knows things about my past, things that are not true, and she is trying to destroy our marriage." "What things?" Daniel asked, looking between us. This was the moment I had been waiting for. Time to let them destroy each other. "Olivia, if you have something to tell Daniel about your past, now would be a good time," I said gently. "It is all lies," she said desperately. "She hired someone to make fake documents, fake videos, fake everything. She cannot stand that you chose me over her." Daniel looked confused. "What fake documents? What videos?" I walked to my desk and pulled out the folder Paula had given me. "Perhaps these will clear things up." I handed him the file with copies of her marriage certificates, divorce documents, police reports, and the newspaper articles about her previous husband's deaths. Daniel's hands shook as he read through everything. "Olivia, what is this? Why does this say your name is Maria Delgado?" "I can explain." "And why are there 2 marriage certificates with your picture on them?" "Daniel, please let me." "And what is this about? A Brian Collins dying in a fall down the stairs. Olivia, who are these people?" She was crying harder now, makeup streaming down her face. "I was going to tell you everything after we were married. I was scared you would not understand." "Understand what?" "That you have been married twice before. That 2 men died after divorcing you. That your real name is Maria. It is not what it looks like." "Then explain it," he said, his voice getting louder. "Explain why my mother has newspaper clippings about you being investigated for insurance fraud. Explain why there is a police report here about credit card theft." I sat down in my armchair and watched my daughter-in-law's world collapse. It was even more satisfying than I had imagined. The name change was because of an abusive ex-husband, she said desperately. "I told you that. And yes, I was married before, but those men, they were not good people. They tried to control me, to hurt me, by giving you millions of dollars in divorce settlements." Daniel's voice was ice cold now. "I never asked for that money. They forced it on me because they felt guilty about how they treated me. And then they both just happened to die in accidents. I did not have anything to do with that." Daniel looked at me. "Mom, where did you get all this? I hired a private investigator after Detective Green called me about the fraud case." "What fraud case?" I explained about the phone call about the credit card debt she had run up under her previous name. about the pattern of targeting older men through dating apps. But she did not meet me through a dating app, Daniel said slowly. She met me at the tennis club. Actually, I said gently, according to the investigator, she joined that tennis club 3 days before meeting you, right after she researched your family and found out about your father's estate. Daniel sank into my couch like all the air had gone out of him. You researched my family. Daniel. Please. I love you. I really love you. Everything else was in the past before I met you. You changed me the same way Arthur Reynolds changed me. The same way Brian Collins changed me. This is different, is it? Because according to this police report, you told Brian Collins the exact same thing. That he had changed you. That you had never felt love like this before. That your past did not matter because you were different with him. I had not mentioned that detail to Daniel. He had figured it out himself by reading the investigator's notes. My son was smarter than I had given him credit for. Olivia, I know this looks bad. He stood up, pacing around my living room like a caged animal. Olivia or Maria or whoever you are, I just watched a video of you with another man while talking about how easy it would be to rob me blind. How exactly is that supposed to look good? She went completely silent. The crying stopped. The desperate explanations stopped. Everything stopped. When she finally looked up at him, I saw the real woman behind the mask for the first time. You want to know the truth? She said, her voice completely different now, colder, harder. Fine. Here is the truth. Yes, I researched your family. Yes, I joined that tennis club to meet you. Yes, I lied about my past. But so what? You got exactly what you wanted out of this marriage. What I wanted. A beautiful young wife who made you look successful. Someone to show off at your seaside country club. Someone to make your friends jealous. You think I did not know you were just trying to prove something to your dead father? Daniel's face went white. That is not true. Really? Then why did you propose after 2 months? Why did you insist on having the wedding at the country club where all his old friends could see? Why did you tell everyone about how I was different from other women? Because I was not interested in your money. I had to admit she had him there. Daniel had always been insecure about living up to his father's legacy. You used me, he said quietly. We used each other, she corrected. The only difference is that I am honest about it. Did you ever love me at all? She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, I loved the life you could give me. I loved the security, the status, the future we could have had. But love you, Daniel? I do not think I am capable of loving anyone the way you mean. That was the moment my son's heart truly broke. Not when he saw the video, not when he read the police reports, but when she admitted she had never loved him at all. I want you out of my house, Daniel said quietly. It is not your house yet, Olivia replied. Technically, it is still your mother's house until you inherit it, which, given what I know about the prenup you did not make me sign, might be sooner than you think. The threat was unmistakable. She was going to try to take everything in the divorce. Daniel looked at me helplessly. Mom, what do I do? For the first time in months, my son was asking for my help instead of rejecting it. First I said, you call your lawyer. Then you call the bank and freeze any joint accounts. Then you change all your passwords and make sure she cannot access anything financial. You cannot prove any of this, Olivia said, but there was no confidence in her voice anymore. Actually, I replied, I can prove all of it. Paula was very thorough in her investigation, and video evidence is particularly compelling in divorce court. The look she gave me could have frozen hell. This is not over, she said. Yes, I said calmly. It is. She left without another word, and Daniel collapsed back onto my couch. Mom, I am so sorry. I should have listened to you. You could not have known, sweetheart. She was very good at what she did. How did you know to investigate her? I sat down next to him and took his hand. Because no mother watches her son fall for someone and does not ask questions. And when the police called, I knew I had to protect you. The police called you first. They tried to call you, but you would not listen. So they called me instead. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. She is going to try to take everything in. The divorce, is she not? She is going to try, I said. But she is going to find out that Evelyn Carter did not raise a stupid son. And she definitely did not raise one who goes into battle without backup. What do you mean? I smiled and pulled out another folder, this one much thicker than the first. I mean, your father taught me a thing or two about protecting family assets. And Paula found some very interesting information about how Maria Delgado's previous divorces were overturned when evidence of fraud came to light. Daniel stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Mom, you are kind of scary when you want to be. Sweetheart, I said, patting his hand, you have no idea. The divorce proceedings started exactly as I had predicted. Olivia, or Maria, hired the most expensive lawyer in the state and immediately filed for half of everything Daniel owned, plus alimony, plus damages for emotional distress. Her lawyer, a shark named Martin Cole, actually had the nerve to call me. Mrs. Carter, I represent your daughter-in-law in the divorce proceedings. I understand you have been spreading some rather serious allegations about my client. I have not been spreading anything, I said pleasantly. I simply provided my son with factual information about the woman he married. Factual information that was obtained through illegal means hacking into private accounts, hiring investigators to stalk my client, invasion of privacy. My client has grounds for a substantial lawsuit against you personally. I almost laughed. Mr. Cole, I think you should speak with your client about her previous legal troubles before you threaten me with lawsuits. Mrs. Carter, I am going to be very clear with you. My client is entitled to half of your son's assets, and that includes his inheritance from your husband. If you interfere with these proceedings, I will make sure you lose your home and everything else you own. How interesting, I said smoothly. Does your client happen to mention that she is not actually entitled to any inheritance because it is held in a trust that specifically excludes spouses married for less than 2 years? There was a long pause. What trust? The one my husband established when Daniel was 16. The one that protects family assets from exactly this kind of situation. I am surprised Maria did not research that when she was researching everything else about our family. Another pause. I will need to see documentation of this trust. Of course. My lawyer will provide copies during discovery, along with all the documentation about Maria Delgado's previous marriages and the civil suits filed against her by the families of her deceased ex-husbands. Cole hung up without another word. 2 days later, Maria showed up at my house again. This time, she was alone, and she looked desperate. We need to talk, she said when I opened the door. I do not think we have anything to discuss. Please, just 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I let her in. She stood in my living room looking around like she was calculating the value of everything she could see. You have won, she said finally. Is that what you want to hear? You have successfully destroyed my marriage and my life. Congratulations. I did not destroy anything, Maria. I simply revealed what was already there. You know, Daniel will never trust another woman again because of this. You have made sure he will be alone for the rest of his life dependent on you. That stung because there was some truth to it. Daniel had been devastated by the betrayal and had been clinging to me like a lifeline ever since. Daniel will heal, I said, and eventually he will find someone who actually loves him. Will he? Because right now, he is drinking himself to sleep every night and calling me at 2 in the morning, begging me to explain why I did this to him. I had not known about the calls or the drinking. "What do you want, Maria? I want you to give me something, some kind of severance payment, enough money to start over somewhere else. In exchange, I will disappear completely. No drawn-out divorce, no custody battle over assets, no lawsuits. I will sign whatever papers your lawyers want and vanish." How much money? $2.5 million. I actually did laugh then. You must be joking. I know about Arthur Reynolds' family suing me. I know about the insurance companies investigating Brian Collins' death. If this divorce gets nasty, if it goes to trial, all of that will come out. The media will have a field day. Daniel's name will be associated with mine in every news story about Black widow wives. She was right about that. A sensational trial would destroy Daniel's reputation along with hers. "And if I pay you $2.5 million, you will just disappear. I will move to a different country. Change my name. Again, start over." Daniel can get a quiet divorce for irreconcilable differences, and his name stays out of the papers. I pretended to consider it. That is quite an offer. But I have a counter-proposal. What nothing? You get nothing. You sign the divorce papers accepting full responsibility for the breakdown of the marriage. You waive any claim to assets or alimony, and you disappear anyway. Why would I agree to that? I walked to my desk and pulled out yet another folder. Mariah's face went pale when she saw it. Because Paula's investigation turned up something very interesting about Brian Collins' death. The insurance company was not the only one asking questions. His family hired their own investigator, and that investigator found some fascinating evidence. What evidence? Security camera footage from a neighbor's house showing you leaving Brian's home at 11:47 p.m. the night he died. Footage that clearly shows you coming back at 1:23 a.m., staying for exactly 4 minutes, then leaving again. Maria sat down hard in my armchair. That is impossible. The timestamp is very clear. Brian's body was found at the bottom of the stairs the next morning. But according to the coroner, he died between midnight and 2 a.m., which means you were there right around the time he died. I went back because I forgot my purse. For 4 minutes, and you did not think to mention this to the police at the time, she was trapped, and she knew it. The security footage would not be enough to convict her of murder, but it would be enough to reopen the investigation. And if they reopened Brian Collins' case, they would probably take another look at Arthur Reynolds' death too. "What do you want me to do?" she whispered. "I want you to sign a confession to what? To fraud, to knowingly entering into marriage under false pretenses with the intent to defraud my son of his assets. Nothing about the deaths, nothing about the previous marriages, just a simple admission that you lied about your identity and your motives. If I sign that I could go to jail, maybe I said, or maybe the district attorney will be satisfied with restitution and community service, especially if you cooperate fully and leave the state voluntarily." She stared at the floor for a long time. "And if I do not sign it, then I give this security footage to the Fairfield Police Department, along with all the other evidence Paula found. And we will see how well your new lawyer handles a murder investigation on top of a divorce case." The silence stretched between us for several minutes. Finally, she looked up at me with something that might have been respect. "You really are a scary old woman." "I am a mother protecting her child," I said. "That makes me the most dangerous thing in the world." She signed the confession that afternoon. Within a week, she had filed for divorce on no-fault grounds, waiving all claims to Daniel's assets. Within a month, she had left Rhode Island entirely. Daniel never knew about the confession or the security footage. As far as he knew, Olivia had simply decided to leave quietly rather than fight a losing battle. He was hurt, angry, and confused, but he was safe. The drinking stopped after a few weeks. The late-night phone calls ended when her number was disconnected. Slowly, very slowly, my son started to heal. "Mom," he said one afternoon, about 2 months after she had left, "I owe you an apology. A big one." You do not owe me anything, sweetheart. Yes, I do. I chose her over you. I accused you of being jealous and controlling when you were just trying to protect me. I threw you out of my own wedding. You were in love. People do foolish things when they are in love. I hurt you, really hurt you, and you saved me anyway. I thought about that night in the mansion, watching Mariah's face when she realized I had trapped her completely. I thought about the look in her eyes when she signed that confession, knowing she had finally met someone more ruthless than she was. That is what mothers do, I said. We protect our children even when they do not want to be protected. How did you know she was lying about everything? Even before the detective called? I smiled, remembering the first time I had met her at that seaside country club lunch. Instinct mostly. Something about her had just felt wrong. She was too perfect, too eager to please, too interested in all the wrong things. What wrong things? Daniel asked. She asked about your father's estate before she asked about your favorite color, I said quietly. She knew your net worth before she knew your middle name. When someone loves you, they want to know who you are. When someone is using you, they want to know what you are worth. Daniel nodded slowly. I should have seen it. No, sweetheart. You should have been able to trust that the woman you married actually loved you. The fact that you could not see through her lies just means you are a good person who expects the best from people. Like Dad was, he said softly. Exactly like Edward, I replied. And that is not something to be ashamed of. We sat quietly for a while, watching the sun set through my kitchen window. Finally, Daniel spoke again. Mom, how do I make sure this never happens again? How do I trust anyone after this? Carefully, I said. But you will trust again eventually because the alternative is spending your life alone. And that is exactly what she wanted. She wanted to poison you against love so completely that you would never risk your heart again. Maybe that would be safer, he murmured. Safer, yes, but not happier. And your father did not raise you to choose safe over happy. Daniel smiled for the first time in months. No, he did not. Besides, I added with a grin, next time you will have the advantage of a very paranoid mother who knows exactly how to run a background check. He laughed, and the sound filled my heart with relief. My son was going to be okay. It would take time, but he was going to be okay. And if anyone else ever tried to hurt him, well, they would find out what I had learned about myself during this whole ordeal. There is nothing more dangerous than a mother who has discovered she is capable of anything. 6 months later, Daniel started dating again. Her name was Jennifer Marie Turner. She was a pediatric nurse, and the first thing she did when she met me was show me pictures of her family. This is my mom and dad at their 40th anniversary party, she said, scrolling through her phone. And this is my sister with her kids. And here is my brother at his graduation from medical school. Real family, real history, real life that could be verified by anyone who cared to look. She seems lovely, I told Daniel later. She is. And Mom, he added with a sheepish smile, I had Paula run a background check on her. I smiled, and Jennifer Marie Turner, 29 years old, born in Philadelphia, graduated from nursing school with honors, no previous marriages, no criminal record, and her biggest debt is her student loans. Suspicious, I said dryly. She sounds entirely too normal. I know, right? Daniel laughed. It is weird dating someone who is actually honest about everything. 3 months later, Daniel brought Jennifer to Sunday dinner for the first time. She arrived with a bouquet of flowers for me and a homemade apple pie. I hope this is okay, she said nervously. Daniel mentioned you like to bake, and I did not want to assume I could compete with your recipes, but my grandmother's apple pie was always her specialty. I took a bite and nearly moaned with pleasure. Jennifer, this is absolutely delicious. Would you share the recipe? Of course, she said warmly. Actually, I was hoping you might teach me some of your techniques. Daniel raves about your cooking. After dinner, while Daniel was loading the dishwasher, Jennifer helped me package up leftovers in the kitchen. Mrs. Carter, can I ask you something personal? Of course, dear. Daniel told me about his first marriage. Not all the details, but enough. I just want you to know that I understand why you might be protective of him. I studied her face, searching for any sign of calculation or manipulation. I found only genuine concern. I appreciate that, Jennifer. I also want you to know that I do not expect you to trust me right away. I know I have to earn that, but I hope eventually you will see that I really do love your son. What makes you love him? I asked. She smiled, and it was the kind of smile that transformed her whole face. He is kind without being weak. He is successful without being arrogant. He treats waiters and janitors the same way he treats his boss. And when he talks about you, his whole face lights up. Any man who loves his mother that much is someone I want to know better. That night, after they had left, I called Paula. I need another favor, I said. Let me guess, she replied. Jennifer Turner, you already ran a check on her, did you not? Of course I did. The moment Daniel started dating her. Seriously, Paula said, laughing. She is exactly what she appears to be, Evelyn, a nice woman from a nice family who happens to love your son. No hidden marriages, no mysterious deaths of ex-boyfriends. I laughed softly. Her longest relationship before Daniel was with a guy named Mark, who broke up with her because she wanted kids and he did not. He is now happily married to someone else and speaks very highly of her. Her biggest scandal is a parking ticket she got in college, so she is perfect. She is normal, Paula said, which probably seems perfect after what Daniel went through. I hung up feeling something I had not felt in a long time, hope. My son had found someone who loved him for himself, not for what he could give her. A year later, Daniel proposed to Jennifer in my backyard garden, right next to the rose bushes Edward had planted. She said yes through happy tears, and the first thing she did after putting on the ring was hug me. I hope this means I get to call you Mom, she whispered. I would be honored, I whispered back. The wedding was small and intimate, held in the same garden where they had gotten engaged. Jennifer's family flew in from Philadelphia, and they were exactly as warm and genuine as she was. Her father walked her down the aisle, but he stopped to shake my hand before giving her away. Thank you for raising such a wonderful man, he said. We could not be happier about this marriage. This time, I sat in the front row with tears of joy streaming down my face. This time, no one screamed at me to leave. This time, I watched my son marry someone who actually deserved him. During his speech at the reception, Daniel looked directly at me. I want to thank my mother for never giving up on me, even when I was too stubborn to listen to her wisdom. Mom, you saved my life in more ways than one, and I love you more than I can ever express. Jennifer's maid of honor speech was even better. I have never seen a mother and son who love each other as purely as Daniel and Evelyn, she said. Evelyn did not just raise a son, she raised a man who knows how to love without conditions, how to trust without being naive, and how to protect the people he cares about. Any woman lucky enough to marry into this family knows she is getting not just a husband, but a role model for what unconditional love looks like. That night, as I watched my son and his new wife dance to their wedding song, I thought about Maria Delgado. Wherever she was, I hoped she had found whatever it was she was really looking for, and I hoped it did not involve destroying anyone else's life. But mostly, I thought about the lesson I had learned through this whole ordeal. Sometimes protecting the people you love means being willing to become someone you never thought you could be. Sometimes love requires you to be ruthless, calculating, and absolutely unforgiving. I had always thought of myself as a gentle person, someone who avoided conflict and trusted others to do the right thing. But when my son's happiness was threatened, I discovered I was capable of things that would have shocked the old Evelyn Carter. I had hired investigators, manipulated security systems, obtained evidence through questionable means, and ultimately forced a confession through what was essentially blackmail. A year ago, I would have been horrified by those actions. Now, watching Daniel and Jennifer laugh together at their wedding reception, I felt nothing but satisfaction. I had done what was necessary to protect my child, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. The next morning, Jennifer brought me coffee in bed and thanked me for the most beautiful wedding she could have imagined. Evelyn, I hope you know that I consider myself the luckiest woman in the world. Not just because I married Daniel, but because I married into a family where love means everything. Welcome to the family, sweetheart, I said, hugging her tight. And thank you for making my son so happy. As she headed downstairs to make breakfast for her new husband, I sat in bed thinking about how much my life had changed. A year and a half ago, I had been a naive widow who trusted everyone and assumed the best about people. I had learned the hard way that the world contained predators who viewed kindness as weakness and love as opportunity. But I had also learned that I was stronger than I had ever imagined. When pushed to my limits, I could be every bit as cunning and ruthless as any con artist. The difference was that I used those skills to protect instead of exploit, to defend instead of attack. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I saw the wedding announcement in the paper. Congratulations to Daniel and his new wife. I hope they will be very happy together. Ems Delgado. I stared at the message for a long moment, then deleted it without responding. Some chapters of life are meant to stay closed. I got up, put on my robe, and went downstairs to join my son and daughter-in-law for breakfast. My real family, the one built on truth, love, and mutual respect. Good morning, Mom, Daniel said, kissing my cheek. Sleep well. Perfectly, I said, and I meant it. After everything we had been through, everything I had done to protect him, this was what truly mattered. My son was safe, happy, and loved by someone who deserved him. Sometimes the best revenge is not getting even. Sometimes the best revenge is simply ensuring that good people get the happy endings they deserve. And sometimes being a good mother means being willing to be the villain in someone else's story. I poured myself a cup of coffee and sat down with my family, finally at peace with both the woman I had been and the woman I had become. If you are watching this story, I want you to remember something: never underestimate a mother protecting her child. We are capable of anything when the people we love are threatened. And to any predators out there thinking you can target someone's family, think again. Because somewhere out there is a mother like me, and we are always watching. Thanks for listening. Do not forget to subscribe, and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.